Welcome to the Duck Dive, brought to you today by RWG Publishing. Today we're embarking on a crucial journey, diving deep into an incredible resource, Rights Unveiled, A Journey Through America's Freedoms by Bill Vincent. This book, it offers a fantastic shortcut, really, to being genuinely well-informed about the foundational principles that shape American society. It's a truly positive and insightful look.
It really is. And a good way to think about it is maybe imagine these fundamental rights like free speech, religious liberty, due process, privacy. Imagine them as the cornerstones of a big house.
Okay, cornerstones. I like that analogy.
Right. Each one is essential. If even one cornerstone is, neglected or misunderstood, the whole structure of liberty can be compromised.
Yeah.
So understanding their history, how they've evolved, the challenges they face today, it isn't just like an academic exercise.
No, it feels much more immediate than that.
Exactly. It's a vital civic responsibility, really, to make sure that House of Liberty stands strong for us and for future generations, too.
Okay, so let's unpack this and maybe start right at the beginning. Before the Declaration of Independence was even, put to paper, what really laid the groundwork for America's unique approach to freedoms?
Well, the revolutionary spirit wasn't just a sudden spark. It was carefully nurtured over time. There was definitely growing discontent with British rule, sure.
Right.
But also a really profound influence from Enlightenment thinkers. These were the people championing ideas of natural rights, self-governance.
Okay.
So when the British monarchy imposed things like taxation without representation, the Stamp Act, the Townshend Acts, it wasn't just about the money.
It was deeper than that.
Oh, yeah. It was seen as a fundamental breach of trust. A violation of the social contract, really. And this feeling, this sense of violation, it just escalated. It led to defining moments like the Boston Massacre in 1770, the Boston Tea Party in 73. These weren't just random incidents.
No, they were statements.
Powerful physical expressions of people demanding their inherent rights.
And then, once the war was actually won, the challenge shifted massively, right? From fighting for independence to actually building a new government. What was that very first attempt at self-governance, and, well, why didn't it stick?
So the first real experiment was the Articles of Confederation. That was in effect from about 1781 to 1789. And it was born directly from this deep, understandable fear of concentrated power. I mean, they just fought a war against a king.
Makes sense. They'd be wary.
Absolutely. So they deliberately created a weak national government. Congress couldn't really tax effectively. There was no strong executive branch to enforce laws, no national judiciary.
So it sounds like it was designed not to work, in a way.
Well, designed not to be too powerful, certainly. And it quickly became clear it couldn't really unify the states or solve their common problems. But, and this is important, its failure provided these invaluable lessons. It showed the founders exactly what not to do.
Okay, learning from mistakes.
Right. It paved the way for something more robust.
So those lessons clearly fed into the Constitutional Convention in 1787. What were some of the huge compromises they had to make to build something stronger, more unified?
Oh, the delegates faced massive divisions, especially between the larger states who wanted representation based on population and the smaller states who were terrified of being overshadowed.
Yeah, the classic big state, small state problem.
Exactly. The big breakthrough was the Great Compromise, proposed by Roger Sherman.
Ah, yes.
It created our bicameral legislature, the House of Representatives, based on population, and the Senate, where every state gets equal representation. 2 senators each.
A balance.
It balanced power very effectively.
Yeah.
Now, there was also the deeply contentious 3/5 compromise, a really difficult agreement looking back, but seen as necessary then to get the southern states on board.
A painful necessity for unity at the time.
Yes. And crucially, they built in the concept of separation of powers and checks and balances,
Yeah.
deeply influenced by Montesquieu.
Right, preventing any one branch from getting too strong.
Precisely. Designed specifically to safeguard liberty by making sure no single part of the government could become tyrannical.
Okay, now here's where it gets really compelling for me. Even with these compromises hammered out, the Constitution still needed to be ratified. And not everyone was sold on it. What was the absolute core of those Federalist versus Anti-Federalist debates?
The Anti-Federalists were profoundly suspicious of a strong federal government, genuinely fearful it could become just as tyrannical as the British monarchy they'd just overthrown.
So history potentially repeating itself.
That was their worry and
Yeah.
their biggest alarm bell. The fact that the original draft didn't have a Bill of Rights. Patrick Henry famously voiced this warning, your president may easily become king. They were worried about individual liberties and state sovereignty just being swallowed up.
That's a powerful warning. And the resolution to that huge debate led directly to what we now know as the Bill of Rights, correct?
Exactly right. The Federalists ultimately conceded to the anti-Federalist demands. It was a major concession. James Madison took the lead, drafting those first 10 amendments, which were adopted in 1791.
A real landmark
It
moment.
really was a triumph of compromise, signaling loud and clear that protecting individual freedoms was absolutely paramount. It sort of completed the essential foundation of that House of Liberty we talked about earlier,
A careful balance.
meticulously balancing necessary government authority with clearly defined individual protections. It's quite remarkable.
Okay, let's turn now to what many call the bedrock of American democracy, the First Amendment itself. Can you give us some historical context? Why these specific guarantees free expression, religion, assembly, petition?
Well, its roots are really firmly planted in the direct experiences of religious and political oppression under British rule, and even in some of the colonies themselves.
Right, established churches, persecution for dissent.
Exactly. Think of state-sponsored churches, people being punished simply for their beliefs. These experiences, combined with the huge influence of Enlightenment thinkers like John Locke, his ideas on natural rights, religious tolerance, they profoundly shaped the founders' conviction.
So they wanted to ensure that couldn't happen here.
Precisely. They wanted to prevent any state-imposed belief system and ensure a really vibrant, open marketplace of ideas. Freedom of conscience was key.
Okay, focusing then on freedom of speech and the press, these seem almost limitless sometimes, but are there actual boundaries?
They are incredibly broad, certainly compared to many other nations. And it covers not just spoken or written words, but even symbolic acts like burning the flag, which the Supreme Court has protected.
Wow.
This broad scope really reflects Thomas Jefferson's belief that, and I'm paraphrasing slightly, error of opinion may be tolerated where reason is left free to combat it.
Let the ideas fight it out.
Basically, yes. However, the Supreme Court has defined clear limits over time. Speech can't incite immediate violence or lawlessness. Now, the standard for that has evolved. Early on, the clear and present danger test allowed for, well, more restrictions.
Okay.
But later, the court established a much higher bar with the imminent lawless action test. This means speech can only be restricted if it's directed to inciting and likely to incite immediate illegal behavior.
So the bar got higher for restriction.
Much higher. It shows a continuous commitment, really, to protecting even unpopular or challenging speech.
And how does the freedom of the press specifically act as that check on government power we hear about?
Well, historically, you had writers like Thomas Paine using the press literally as a revolutionary tool with pamphlets like Common Sense.
Right, mobilizing opinion.
Exactly. But a key landmark case illustrating its power today is New York Times v. United States, the Pentagon Papers case back in 1971.
Oh yeah, I know that one.
When the government tried to stop the publication of classified documents about the Vietnam War, the Supreme Court stepped in. They affirmed the press's vital role in exposing government deception.
Huge implications.
It set a powerful precedent, making it very, very difficult for the government to impose prior restraint, basically, to censor the media before publication. Of course, the press isn't completely unchecked. There are limits, like laws against defamation, libel, slander.
Okay. No, it's just fascinating how the digital age throws entirely new challenges at these old freedoms, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It's a whole new frontier. Social media, for instance, has democratized voices like never before. Anyone can publish.
Which sounds great, but
But it's also massively accelerated the spread of misinformation and disinformation. And that poses its own unique threats to, inform public debate. This has sparked these intense debates over content moderation by private tech companies. Who gets to decide what stays up and what comes down online? It's incredibly complex.
the platform versus publisher debate?
Right. And then you have the whole phenomenon of cancel culture, which raises really legitimate questions. Are societal consequences for certain speech stifling genuine free expression, or are they just a new form of public accountability?
Difficult questions with no easy answers.
Definitely uncharted waters. Our understanding of free speech is constantly being tested and reevaluated in this new environment.
Let's shift gears slightly to religious freedom with its two very famous clauses. Can you break those down?
Sure. So first you have the Establishment Clause. This essentially means the government cannot establish an official religion, nor can it favor one religion over another or religion over non-religion.
Government neutrality.
That's the aim. Think of cases like the ban on mandatory organized prayer in public schools. The court said the government shouldn't be endorsing or promoting any specific religious practice in that setting.
Okay, that's establishment. What's the other part?
The other part is the free exercise clause. This guarantees your right to practice your religion freely without government interference. A classic example is Wisconsin v. Yoder, where Amish families were granted an exemption from compulsory schooling laws past the 8th grade because formal secondary education conflicted with their core religious beliefs and way of life.
So protecting actual practice. Is there a tension sometimes between those two clauses? Or are there limits on religious practice itself?
There's definitely a delicate balance, sometimes even a tension. The government has to remain neutral under the Establishment Clause, while also protecting individual practice under the Free Exercise Clause.
Tricky.
It can be. And no, religious practices aren't exempt from all laws, particularly laws that serve a legitimate overriding public interest, like public health or safety. The classic example is the 19th century ruling against polygamy, even though it was claimed as a religious practice.
Okay, so it's not an absolute right to do anything in the name of religion?
Correct. And recent cases like the Masterpiece Cake Shop case involving a baker with religious objections to creating cake for a same-sex wedding really highlight this ongoing struggle. How do we balance sincere religious freedom claims with principles of non-discrimination, the continuous negotiation in the courts and society?
Okay, finally, within the First Amendment, the power of collective action, freedom of assembly and petition, how vital are these?
Oh, absolutely crucial for a functioning democracy. They allow citizens to gather together peacefully and to demand change from their government. Historically, think about it, they've been vital for basically every major social movement, from the abolitionists fighting slavery in the 19th century
Right.
to the civil rights movement in the 1960s, the Montgomery bus boycott, the March on Washington where MLK gave his I Have a Dream speech, the Selma to Montgomery marches that directly led to the Voting Rights Act of 1965, all relied heavily on assembly and petition.
Powerful examples.
And importantly, even groups with really offensive views generally have assembly rights as long as their gathering remains peaceful. The courts have upheld this, like in the Skokie case involving a neo-Nazi group wanting to march.
Protecting even unpopular speech in assembly.
Yes. And the right to petition ensures citizens can formally ask the government for change through actual petitions, lobbying efforts, or broader organized movements like women's suffrage, which led to the 19th Amendment, or modern movements like Black Lives Matter. It keeps the government accountable to the people.
Okay, this is all incredibly rich. And if you're finding these deep dives into how our rights developed, how they challenge us today, if it's sparking your curiosity and making you want to truly understand the history, the evolution, all these essential American freedoms, you absolutely need to check out the source material for today's discussion.
Yeah, I second that. Bill Vincent's Rights Unveiled, A Journey Through America's Freedoms, provides an incredibly thorough, and I'd add, a very positive exploration of these topics. It's just a fantastic resource for anyone seeking to be well-informed and really gain deeper insight.
Definitely. You can find Rights Unveiled and start your own journey into these crucial insights by clicking the link to Amazon. It's right there in our show notes. Go check it out. All right, so moving beyond the First Amendment, it's clear these rights are constantly being interpreted and adapted. Let's talk about personal privacy and protection from government intrusion, especially with the Fourth Amendment.
Right, the fourth. This one is deeply rooted in those colonial grievances against the British writs of assistance.
The general warrants.
Exactly. Basically, blank checks allowing officials to search wherever they wanted, for whatever they wanted, without specific cause. The colonists aided them. So, the Fourth Amendment's core protection is against unreasonable searches and seizures. It explicitly requires probable cause, a reasonable basis for believing a crime has been committed, and specific warrants describing the place to be searched and the items to be seized.
So no fishing expeditions.
That's the idea. And later, in the 1960s, the Supreme Court introduced the concept of a reasonable expectation of privacy in the Ketz case. This recognized that privacy rights extend beyond just your physical property, like your house, to places where you reasonably expect privacy, like a phone booth back then.
Okay, but how does that traditional right hold up now in our, hyper-digital world? Everything's online.
Yeah, that is one of the biggest challenges facing the Fourth Amendment today. So much of our personal data, emails, photos, location history, search queries lives in the cloud or on our devices, often held by third parties.
Right, the tech companies.
Exactly. A really pivotal recent case was Carpenter v. United States in 2018. The Supreme Court actually extended Fourth Amendment protections to cell phone location data held by wireless carriers.
That seems significant.
It was huge. It showed the courts are trying to adapt these traditional rights to new surveillance technologies, acknowledging that the digital trail we leave behind can reveal incredibly intimate details about our lives. This also connects to ongoing debates around encryption, the tension between law enforcement needing access and individuals needing secure communication.
Fascinating. Okay, beyond literal privacy, what about ensuring fair treatment within the legal system itself? That brings us to the Fifth Amendment, right? Including pleading the Fifth.
Yes, the Fifth Amendment covers several vital protections, many stemming from reactions to abuses like the English Star Chamber, where people were forced to incriminate themselves. Two key protections really stand out. First, the right to remain silent, what people often call pleading the Fifth. This was famously brought to public awareness by the Miranda v. Arizona ruling in 1966.
The Miranda warning. You have the right to remain silent.
Exactly. That warning ensures people know their rights before custodial interrogation. It's about personal autonomy and preventing coerced confessions. Second, there's due process. This is a fundamental guarantee of fair legal proceedings before the government can deprive someone of life, liberty, or property.
Due process sounds pretty foundational.
It absolutely is. It includes procedural due process, ensuring the government follows fair steps, like notice and a hearing, and substantive due process, which protects certain fundamental rights from unjust government interference, even if the procedures are fair.
Can you give an example of substantive due process?
A powerful one is Loving v. Virginia in 1967, which struck down state laws banning interracial marriage. The court said the freedom to marry is a fundamental right, and laws based on racial classifications violated substantive due process. It shows how due process protects core liberties.
Got it. Okay, finally, let's quickly touch on the Ninth and Tenth Amendments. They seem a bit different, almost like safety nets.
That's a great way to put it. They ensure flexibility and balance in the system. The Ninth Amendment deals with unenumerated rights.
Rights not specifically listed.
Exactly. It acts as this crucial safeguard, clarifying that just because a right isn't explicitly listed in the Constitution doesn't mean it doesn't exist or isn't protected. The founders knew they couldn't list every single right. This was really pivotal in cases like Griswold v. Connecticut in 1965, which recognized a constitutional right to privacy, specifically marital privacy regarding contraception, even though privacy isn't explicitly mentioned in the Bill of Rights. It showed the Constitution can adapt.
And the 10th.
The 10th Amendment focuses on reserved powers. It affirms state sovereignty, basically saying that any powers not specifically given to the federal government nor denied to the states are reserved to the states respectively or to the people.
So limiting federal power.
Right. It limits federal overreach. You see this in debates today, for example, around state legalization of marijuana, which often goes against federal law. The 10th Amendment provides a basis for states asserting their authority in areas not delegated to the federal government.
So they work together, 9th and 10th.
They really work in tandem. The 9th protects individual liberties that might not be explicitly named, and the 10th protects the balance of power between federal and state governments, both contributing to the overall structure of liberty.
Okay, so if we try to connect this all, weave it together into the bigger picture, how do all these freedoms, these amendments we've discussed, navigate the really big challenges of our modern world?
It's a constant, really dynamic negotiation. It never stops. We see it playing out everywhere. Think about the ongoing tension between national security and personal privacy, especially with government surveillance in the digital age, the whole post-9/11 debate, Edward Snowden's revelations.
Right. The Patriot Act, NSA surveillance.
Exactly. We also grapple constantly with how free expression works, or should work, in online spaces, balancing the incredible reach of social media platforms with the very real need to combat harmful misinformation or figure out the complexities of online harassment and cancel culture.
It feels like the rules are still being written there.
They absolutely are.
Yeah.
And then you layer on the increasing impact of globalization. How do national laws and constitutional rights interact with international norms, global tech companies, cross-border data flows? It constantly pushes our constitutional framework to adapt while trying to stay true to its core principles. But what's truly profound here, I think, is that these freedoms aren't just historical artifacts collecting dust. They are living, breathing protections. They constantly adapt and evolve with society, fueled by ongoing debate, court cases, and, frankly, citizen vigilance.
They're not static.
Not at all. They're a testament, really, to the strength and the adaptability of the American system, always seeking that delicate, sometimes elusive balance between government authority and individual liberty.
So what does all this mean for you, the listener? It means that understanding these roots, their complexities, their ongoing challenges, it's more vital than ever if you want to be an engaged citizen. This isn't just abstract history, it's about the present and the future of your rights and how our society functions.
And that really raises an important question for all of us, doesn't it? How do we, as informed citizens, continue to be effective stewards of this House of Liberty? How do we ensure its foundation remains solid for future generations, especially when technology and global influences are constantly reshaping the landscape?
That is a powerful thought to ponder as we wrap up this deep dive, inspired by Rights Unveiled, A Journey Through America's Freedoms by Bill Vincent. If you want to delve even deeper into these crucial topics, explore the specifics of each amendment, and get that positive, insightful perspective, definitely grab your copy of Bill's book. Just click the Amazon link right there in our show notes. Thank you so much for listening to the Deep Dive Podcast.